I had to meditate before sitting down to do this, because I wanted to be very careful about how I explain everything. You know everything. Everybody else doesn't know everything, you know?
Do you remember like the reason you started, like just, or the situations that prompted you to do it?
The first time I had like actually drank was after a breakup.
Okay.
I was 16 and I just felt like empty. And I was with a friend. He had Bacardi lemonade. And he was like, "Do you want to try some?" And I was like, "Sure," because I was bummed, I was sad and everything like that. And then I'm 16, man. Like, I don't, one like little chug of that, and I was like, what the heck's going on? It didn't like make anything better, but I think because I was one of the coping things, it was like, I wouldn't mind doing this again. Like, this doesn't taste terrible because it was flavored, it was lemonade Bacardi, which some people still don't even like, So after that, it was like Dragonberry Bacardi, and then that was like, it actually tasted good, so I was very about it, and that's what I would always get. And then it went to Fireball, and then like people started inviting me to parties, and then I was like, bet, I'm super down. And and then there's just like, I have cut all that stuff out. Like I won't intentionally go out and ask for tequila. I won't ever ask for, but I'm done drinking rum. I don't drink rum like ever anymore. And that's why like I've stuck to like the scotch or like whiskeys, because it's something that I know, like this certain amount I'll have like a little buzz, be able to enjoy myself with whoever I'm around and whatever, and I don't need to like overdo it.
So it started with like just wanting to like forget yourself or forget everything,
the moment,
or just like be numb in the moment, basically.
Yeah, which sounds very depressing.
Because not necessarily. I mean, we all have those moments where we're going through something, whether it's a breakup or whether it's something adversary that, a curveball that life throws at us. We all have those moments, but I think that it's kind of important for you to identify like what were you seeking out of that, right, in that moment, and substituting that. Like you said, you felt empty and you just wanted to probably numb, forget, just kind of like get away, right? And that was an escape. And as you got more and more exposed or more and more involved with it, then it just became the thing to do when you were around people.
It became a habit. It wasn't an addiction, but it became a habit. And it wasn't a good habit. And yeah, I mean, now like I'm so grateful that I'm not around it as much anymore. Like now I really do feel like something major would have had to happen in order for me to backslide or to really revert to that. People always talk about like going on like spiritual journeys and becoming more in tune with themselves when they like practice celibacy, when they stop eating meat and they go vegan, they go sober, they stop smoking, they stop drinking, like, and they think more clearly. That's what people like. I mean, I've heard people say that. Can't quote me on that.
It's a way to detox.
It's a way to detox. Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of been like something similar. Like I've detoxed alcohol a little bit because it's very rare that I'll even have scotch if I go out or even here at the house. Like I haven't had anything in the house in a while. So it's good. Like I'm glad. But not a lot of people know that that's what I've experienced. Like not a lot of people, well, let me correct myself. Not a lot of people know that it impacted me in a much more harder, like heavier way, because that's not discussed,
It doesn't come up.
No, it doesn't come up, and people just think like everybody drinks, so it's what's the big deal. People
Right.
think everybody smokes, so what's the big deal? But some people like really, I think, can't stop, or maybe it's impacting them in a completely different way that no one
Yeah.
knows about. Like, no one knows what's really going on unless you talk about it.
I think that I'll call them vices, but I think that with that, there's a reason why we gravitate to those things, and the reason why we choose to use those things is very critical. Like you said, you felt empty.
Yeah. Some people like drinking socially. You know, in a big social setting, it's just kind of like the thing to do. It's common. You know, it's not foreign to certain people with certain backgrounds and from certain countries. You know, it's very popular in like the Latino community, right? And it's funny because we have that background, but that wasn't something that was ever around. Even with some of our like extended family, like maybe I saw them drink beer here and there, but like not even that serious. Versus other friends of mine are like, yeah, we partying and you're underage, that's fine. At least you're with us and you're doing it safely. Like, there's so many different upbringings, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, or, you know, it's not to dismiss anybody else's experience, but it's just fascinating to see how people create their own I don't want to say realities, but like everybody's experience is unique and different, you know, and it's based upon like what we say is okay and what is not okay, and how much is too much, and how safe are you, and this is what it looks like when you're doing it safely. So just educating people differently in their own in their own perspectives of what they think is okay and not okay.
Yeah.
And I just think that as long as as long as you're self-aware, which a lot of this generation I think is becoming more self-aware. I think our previous generations are not as self-aware. No disrespect. I think you're a very self-aware person for the most part. You always know when something's wrong.
I mean,
it's a mother's intuition.
It could be mother's intuition, but then again, I felt really silly and for not catching that you were doing that for so long. 2014
actually to 2016 was just 2 years of it was just a very heavy period. I just graduated high school and I was hanging out with Mauricio a lot. Shout out to Mauricio. And I hid alcohol from you. Like, I was drinking a lot, like every other day, kind of a lot. And the reason why it was such a taboo thing is because I was underage. Like, that was, I mean, aside from the fact that here at the house, like, that's not something that I grew up around. Neither you or Frank drink. I say Frank and I say Emmy, just for context. But they're my parents. And on top of the fact that you guys didn't do that, and on top of the fact that I was underage, it was just like, I can't find out, you know? And at some point, like, we were in the process of making music, and Mauricio and I were making like we were gonna do a project individually, like his own project and my own project. And I had a crazy concept album for it. It was gonna be called Searching for Death, which is so bizarre. Like, why as humans? Well, I think actually the reason why I was gonna call it that was because as humans, despite us wanting to be happy and wanting to be fulfilled, we're never satisfied. Like, we're always finding ourselves in the midst of self-sabotage. And so, like, I was really, like, out here looking for the darkest places within myself and trying to put myself in that headspace. And that was the whole point of the project. And I wanted to write these heavy songs to exert where I was putting myself, or what I was putting myself through intentionally, which is ridiculous. when I think about it now. Crazy concept. Would have been brilliant, but no. And we had a conversation. I was explaining to you the project, and then I just started crying because you were like, why would you even like want to put yourself in that? Why would you want to put yourself through that? And then I would hide the bottle of whatever I was drinking, whether it was Bacardi or Fireball, in one of my drawers underneath a bunch of stuff, wrapped in a t-shirt, I think. And I was like, yeah, I gotta get rid of this. Like, and I just brought you to the room, and then I showed you, and you were just like blindsided. That hurt. I'm sure that hurt me, and I'm positive it hurt you.
I remember that day vividly. I remember that you took me to the room and you said this has to go, and you pulled out a box. You had it in like a little safe box.
Yeah.
And so many things were going through my mind. I didn't know what you were going to show me. I didn't know, because you're right, you blindsided me. I had no idea that was going on. And as close as we are, as much as we talk, and as much as, you know, I think that you and I have a great communication, and you're very open, and you come to me with anything. I knew there was some things you were holding back, especially when you were talking about purposely putting yourself in a negative headspace in order to maybe stimulate your creativity so that you can work on this project. And so I remember a few days leading up to that, I had been just kind of like asking the Lord to show me what was going on with you, what was really going in through your head, through your thoughts. Like, I really asked the Holy Spirit to lead me into revealing to me what is going on in my son's life. And when we started talking, and then all of a sudden you brought me into the room, I said to myself, oh snap, like, is he gonna pull out a gun? Is he gonna pull out drugs? Is he gonna, like, the farthest thing from my mind was alcohol for some reason. That's not what I was thinking. Like, but I do vividly remember thinking, is there a gun he's going to show me, or is there drugs he's going to show me? Like, what is my son involved with? Is literally what was going through my mind at the time. And at the same time, I wanted to like not hide my feelings, but like my facial expression, I wanted to be very careful with it, because I didn't want you to feel like here's this huge moment where, you know, mind you, I think our trust and communication is amazing, but here you are about to reveal something else to me that has been hidden for so long, so carefully, that I didn't even suspect or had any like red flags going off in me. And I didn't want my facial expression to show you that, hey, you can never do this again, or like come feel like you can open up to me about something deep and heavy again. And so I was just trying to be really careful at that time. That's what I remember.
It's strange how far back my brain, like, even today, when I feel I am at my most creative and most productive, is when I'm putting myself through a situation in which I'm suffering. Like, I'm intentionally looking to get hurt in order to stimulate the drive and the productivity to be like, go. You don't have time to cry, to wallow, to dwell, to, you know, to just be upset. You need to be on the move. And that happens like now. And it's weird to look back at something from like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And just be like, dude, you were doing the exact same thing in a different way. Mm-hmm. I think now I'm a bit more careful. I'm slightly more cautious. And now I also know how to execute a little bit better. So like, I think before I would willingly like dive into, you know, like the area of water where you shouldn't be diving in, right? Like where it's too shallow, and then not know what to do while those repercussions are happening, versus now it's like, okay, I know where I can kind of go with this, how much I can kind of entail. Sometimes obviously you kind of get lost in it because you don't realize how much you're actually taking on, but at least with what I take on, I am putting it into proper areas of my life, like exercising, going for runs, working on We Are Human, continuing to just educate myself in different areas. That's where like the drive continues to flow. But I just find it interesting because like it's reflecting back on that situation is just weird to me. And then the other thing about alcohol is I'm not an alcoholic. I don't think I ever was an alcoholic. Even though when I would try to talk about it with certain friends, they would dismiss it very easily. And I wasn't always I wasn't always appreciative of that, because it was kind of just like, what is my reality? Like, do I have a problem or do I not have a problem? Because am I over exaggerating or am I overreacting? So it was always hard to talk about that with people. And that's why I guess eventually I ended up talking to you about it. But I knew it was becoming a problem because of how frequent it was happening. And because that was just like the thing to do. It wasn't like hey, we're all hanging out and we're at the pool or we're at someone's house and we're having some beers. It was like, let's go straight to the hard liquor. We're creating some music, or we're just like goofing around and not really doing anything productive. So it was kind of like there's no positive outcome from what is occurring. And at some point, yeah, I guess through you interceding, it kind of helped me realize that. And then that stopped for a while. And it slowed down significantly, at least, because I still drink to this day. But as I've gotten older, like I mentioned, being more mature and aware of how you can kind of direct everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I still don't know to this day who has a grip on anything, right? Because if we're imperfect, we're bound to make mistakes and we're bound to disappoint and we're bound to let other people down or ourselves down. Who really has a grip on alcohol? Who really has a grip on how often they smoke marijuana, or how often they spend money like going out? Like that's a problem for people, you know, like some people could be like, no, I got it. You know, like I'm only going to spend $100 this month for shopping or something like that. But like credit cards are the devil. They can be, you know? And so like no one really has a grip on anything, to be honest. And so to me, I don't say that I have a grip on alcohol now, but I know, like, for the most part, what and how much I need and how often it occurs. That doesn't mean like I'm not gonna mess up and I might have a little bit more than I intended on, but at least now I feel like this is not something I need to like have fun to do. I don't really want to go out to the clubs or to downtown. Like I never even like that scene too much. And if I go out, I love Black Label, like, and one glass that's all I need, like, you know, but still trying to be careful because I don't like the person that I become when I get like to that point. And one thing that I've learned is through all of these revelations is I've learned that I've projected onto other people, friends of mine, even previous partners of mine. When they drink, I would get upset because I would look at it within like my own experience and relationship with alcohol. When they have their completely different own relationship with alcohol. Yeah. Better or worse than mine, it doesn't matter. Like it's different. It's not mine. So I didn't realize that until this year, where I was like, okay, I understand now why I would get a little bit tight whenever we're in a group situation and alcohol is involved and someone might be overdoing it, or I think they're overdoing it, because I'm looking at them like I'm looking at if I was looking at myself.
I think it's also just a genuine concern.
If I
Because
think
of what you have experienced, you
Yeah.
just have a genuine concern. It could be that too.
I think it's a mix of both, though. You have the concern, but then you also see, like, it's kind of like when you don't want, like, people to experience the same things that you've experienced. So, like, you give this advice and
Yes.
then they don't listen. And then that enables you, or, like, it kind of triggers you because you're like, why aren't you listening? Because I've done this. But here's the thing, like, my experience is still completely different. Just because it didn't look good for me in this situation, or it put me into this negative headspace, doesn't mean it does the exact same thing for them. So finding the balance of not really getting too involved, but also saying, like, don't drive. If you need something,
Yeah.
reach out. For a long time, it was just a very big burden of, like, back and forth, like backsliding to drinking a lot, and just trying to, like, completely go sober. And I was like, how can I try to, like, blend the two? Because I believe in compromise within everything. Balance. Like, too much of anything is bad for you, no matter what it is.